time they need. When they first get into a network marketing organization, they have a tendency, without a head start, to look up at the leaders way out in front and become discouraged and think they will never be able to catch up. During this training period, the new distributor, whether it's you or the new people in your organization, need to be doing two things. 1. Distributing the first 4 chapters of this book, and 2. Inviting people to see the business, i.e., attending a presentation conducted by someone else and learning about the business, including its products and compensation plan. And remember, if you want to retire in a few years making $50,000 a year, you must be willing to go back to school by investing 5 to 10 hours for the next 6 months. If someone tells you they will give it 30 days and see how it goes, don't waste your time. Success requires a commitment of at least 6 months. This brings us to the importance of building your foundation. The next napkin. Grab your next napkin or piece of paper and draw a picture of a crowd of runners. Note the arrows showing a runner trying to catch up to the crowd and the runner going even faster trying to stay ahead of all the others. You may find it simpler to draw circles to illustrate this point. Remember when you were in PE in school and were running laps? Some people prefer to run faster to stay ahead of a crowd rather than have to catch up to it. Since there is no finish line in this race, you can all be winners. I have a quote from my pastor that is displayed in my office, and it reads, "The only losers are the quitters." However, to run a good race, one should train for it. And when you sponsor someone, have him or her consider the first 2 to 6 weeks in the business as their training period, time, month. The next month will be their starting month. Everything they read or listen to, the meetings they attend with their sponsors and others, the products they try, and the products they move are all part of the training. All of this training is giving them a head start on their starting month in the business, which is next month. When the next month comes, and if they're not ready yet to get serious about the program, consider that they are still in their training month or period. Don't have them start counting their months until they are ready to get serious. That way, when they finally do get serious, they will be warmed up for the race and can get off to a head start and run at a faster pace. Presentations produce motivation. One of the major benefits of all these napkin presentations is that you share them with your new distributors and prospects and hold training programs. Those who are being trained have a tendency to become self-motivators. Every time I show the 2 times 2 is 4 presentation, I get all excited again about the possibilities in network marketing. Building your skyscraper. Once you read, study, and understand what I'm going to show you in the following pages, you will be motivated and encouraged every time you see a new high-rise office building under construction. Notice that when construction begins, it seems like it takes months and months, almost forever, before you see it begin to rise out of the ground. But once it gets above the ground level, it seems to rise about 1 floor per week. It goes up fast. So picture that tall office building as your own organization as it will be someday, and consider what you will have to do to get it. When you have started to sponsor those 5 serious people, you were digging the foundation with a shovel or a spade. But notice that when you dig down into the second level by teaching your people to sponsor, that's 25 people now, you have to bring in the bulldozers. When you have taught your people how to teach the people in their group to sponsor, you are well on your way to bedrock, and you are now beginning to excavate with a hydraulic excavator. When you have begun to see the 125 third level people, you have reached bedrock. Now you can start going up. And when you are 4 deep in your organization, it means you are now starting to become visible, and your building will rise up quite rapidly. Constructing a firm foundation. So if you've been in the business for several months and you don't see anything happening, don't get discouraged. It's just that the foundation is still under construction. It's sort of like the gold prospector who spent months and months digging a mine, only to give up and quit when he was just 6 inches from the main vein. Let's go back to salespeople. That's what happens to them. They move on to something else because they were just about to hit bedrock and start seeing the building rise. You can't expect to see visible results or real growth until you have gone at least 4 deep. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be 5 wide and 4 deep. If any one of your lines is 4 deep, It means you are starting to build floors and are visible. The figure below is an illustration of what the foundation of the person who sponsors 130 will look like. Notice they haven't reached bedrock, even if they sponsor 5 product or service users or wholesale buyers and have a group of 780. Without a solid foundation sitting on bedrock, the building can't get too tall or it will crumble. Relating this back to the trip to Brisbane, the teacher who sponsored 130 was in first gear too many times. Even if all sponsored 5, they would never get out of second gear. Study, learn, and use. Learn these napkin presentations and use them. You won't get stuck in second gear. Build your foundation deep, down to the bedrock, and you will reach high gear. When we get to napkin presentation number 9, which is in chapter 10, on motivation and attitude, and the other presentations, you will thoroughly understand why it is important to build deep. Before going to napkin presentation number 5, I want to remind you to show your people these first 4 napkin presentations as soon as possible. The ones that follow can be introduced anytime after your people have started sponsoring others into the business. Chapter 6. Ships at Sea. Napkin presentation number 5. You have now been in your business for about a week, 2 weeks, a month, or whatever length of time it takes for you to decide to get serious and get growing. By this time, you have sponsored a number of people. The next napkin presentation is one that is fun to do in a group of people, more so than in a one-on-one situation. Almost everybody has heard the phrase, "When my ship comes in." I'm reminded of the pessimist who flippantly quips, "With my luck, when my ship comes in, I'll be at the bus station or the airport." In network marketing, you really can have your ship come in. Better still, if you learn to apply these napkin presentations, you can be there at the quay when it docks. I sometimes ask people if they have a long-lost relative who is going to die and leave them a lot of money. You can guess the answer. The fact is, most people really don't have much of a chance of their ship coming in. However, in network marketing, they can. This is just one of the reasons why I am excited about network marketing. When you are out talking to people, you can give them hope. Hope that they don't have to spend the next 30 to 40 years working for a company just so they can draw a pension and retire on 1/3 of the income that was not sufficient when they worked. Did you ever notice how people work 30 to 40 years so they can retire and see the world? And suddenly, they are trying to live on half their income? Network marketing really does give people the opportunity to see their dreams come true, and they don't have to wait or work 30 to 40 years for that to happen. In network marketing, you can create a 4-year career. Most people are fearful about trying to start building a business of their own. Network marketing gives them the opportunity, without disturbing their present means of support, to get involved and try it out. What we will show you now is how you can have your ship come in. This would represent your reaching the top of whatever network marketing organization you happen to be involved with. When your ship arrives, you are going to cash in on whatever cargo it is carrying. The 3 ships. What we do when showing this analogy to someone is to draw 3 ships at sea. Off to the side or at the bottom of your napkin, you draw the shore, and that's where you are waiting for your ship to come in. Label the first ship gold, the second ship silver, and the third ship MT, meaning empty. The ships represent the people in your organization, whether or not you sponsor them directly. They may be at any level down the sponsorship line. Knowing that you are going to cash in on the cargo when your ship comes in, which of the ships are you going to focus on to help them reach the shore? The gold ship, you say? Well, of course. So why is it that most people seem to want to work with the empty ship? Because most people have never been involved in anything like this before. The parallel is this. The gold ships are the self-starter types. They've sponsored and left on their own, thinking they don't need any help or direction. They are just going to run with it and really go. Maybe they will, but probably they won't. Not without the success keys of building in depth rather than width. The MT ships are the ones that have been in the business several months, and you still have to convince them every time you see them that the program will work. They tend to be somewhat negative and easily discouraged. Most people will work with the empty ship until they see this presentation. When they understand it, they will start working with the gold ships, turning silver to gold. When you sponsor someone into the business, they come in as a silver ship, It's basically determined by how you work with them, whether their cargo turns to gold or they become empty. When we are talking about your 5 serious people in the first presentation, we are talking about 5 gold ships. Simply put, the more silver ships you have that turn into gold, the less you have to sponsor to get your 5 serious people. Here's how you can identify a gold ship or serious person. 1. They are eager to learn. They call you all the time with many questions they want answered. Number 2. They ask for help. They have someone they want you to see with them to sponsor or train. Number 3. They are excited about the business. They understand enough about the program to know it will work, and it excites them. Number 4. They are making a commitment. They are buying and using the products or company services, and they are spending their spare time learning all they can about the products and the business opportunity. Number 5. They have goals. Goals help to drive a person to get what they really want. It's important to write your goals down. People with written goals have been shown to achieve higher results than those without. Number 6. They have a list of names. That list will be written down. The reason for having it written down is simple. You can add to it at any time and you won't forget the name later. You may be driving in an area that you haven't been in a while. Just being there will usually jog your memory of someone who lives or used to live in that neighborhood. If you always have your list of names with you, you can immediately add someone's name to your list. A few days later, when you are thinking about calling someone, you can scan down your list, and lo and behold, there is that name. If you hadn't written it down when you thought of it, you may have never thought of them again. Number 7. They are fun to be with. They look forward to when you're coming for a visit, whether it's for business or pleasure. And number 8. They are positive. We all like to be around positive thinking people. It's contagious. Basically, the only difference between a silver ship and a gold ship is that the silver ship hasn't been in the business long enough to understand it to the point of really getting serious about it. 3 critical words. I want you to be aware of 3 important words. If you understood these 3 words, you would understand what makes all network marketing programs work. These words are 1. Expose. 2. Involve. 3. Upgrade. The first thing you have to do is to expose the person to the business you're in. Once you have exposed it to them, get them involved. Once they are involved, they will be thinking about how far they can go in the program and will be upgrading constantly. Expose them to network marketing by explaining the various methods, retail, direct sales, network marketing, mail order, of moving products, and show them the 2 times 2 is 4 napkin presentation number 1 in Chapter 2. Get them involved. Take them on a trip to a desirable destination via napkin presentation number 3 in Chapter 4. Upgrading will be unnatural for them once they understand and utilize all 10 of the napkin presentations and set their sights on the top. Weighing people's reactions. It is very important when you phone or visit your people that they realize you are calling because you want to help them, and do not think that you are pushing them. Referring back to the empty ship type of person, when you call them because you want to help them, you get the feeling that they weren't exactly thrilled about you calling. This is a very good indication that they feel that you are being pushy and bugging them. When you call empty ships, they think you are pressuring them. On the other hand, when you call a gold ship, they just figure that you are calling because you want to help, and you will pick up on that in the tone of their conversation. Empty ships don't have goals. They don't have a list of names. They are definitely not serious. And on top of all that, they're usually a little bit negative. They're the ones you must keep proving things to all the time. Realize that when the empty ship sinks, it will either go down alone, or in the event that you work with empty ships rather than gold ships, it will drag you down with it. That is why we try to train our people to stay away from the empty ships and work with the gold ships, or with the silvers to help them become gold ships. Spend most of your time working with the gold ships to develop their own organizations down through the levels. Suddenly, one day, the MTs who haven't sunk, i.e. dropped from the program, and the silvers who haven't converted to gold yet, will see you moving ahead without them, and they might just call you instead. If a person's attitude about the business is on the way down, trying to stop it en route to the next is impossible. You almost have to let it hit bottom. Then, When they are ready and they call you and say they want to get together and get going and start growing, you can bring them up very quickly. But if you run the risk of trying to bring them up while they're still on the way down, i.e. working with a sinking ship, and an empty one at that, they very likely could drag you down with them. Don't talk sales. This model makes for an enjoyable way of communicating with your distributors. When you get together, you can ask them how they are doing with their ships, how many golds, how many silvers, etc. Here's a very important point. Never call up a new distributor and ask him how much he sold last week. If you do, you have totally invalidated everything you've told him, because you told him right up front that he didn't have to go out and sell. Your distributors are just going to share with their friends, sponsor, and build an organization. If you ask them what they've sold, their first reaction will be to think that you are only interested in knowing how much money you are going to make from them, and they're probably thinking correctly. The money will come automatically if you seek first to help your people succeed. Zig Ziglar puts it this way: you can have anything in the world that you want simply by helping enough other people get what they want. Communication advice and encouragement. When you want to talk to someone in your organization who you sponsor directly, whenever possible, call someone downline from them and chat with them a little to see if there is anyone you can help them meet or talk to. Afterward, you can call the first level person you originally wanted to talk to, and the first thing you let them know is that you are just talking with one of their distributors who is excited and who you are going to get together with. Display to your people that when you call, you are calling to help them, not to check up on them. Checking up on their people is the direct sales company's sales manager's job, not yours. We are not in direct sales. We are in network marketing. By now, you should be aware of the difference. To wrap up this presentation, we point out that you, the reader, are not an empty ship. If you were, you probably wouldn't be reading this book. If you feel you were an empty ship before you began to read this book, by the time we get this far, you are probably a gold, or at least a silver, and well on your way to becoming a gold ship. Keep it up. Chapter 7. Third Party Invitation. Napkin Presentation Number 6. Prospecting is the subject of Napkin Presentation Number 6, which is actually tied in with the Ships at Sea presentation. More simply, we call prospecting the third-party invitation. It's important that all your people know what a third-party invitation is and how to do it. Explanation. If I know Carol, I don't go up and ask Carol if she's interested in earning some extra income. The reason I don't do that is because even if Carol wanted or needed to earn some extra money, she would probably want me to think that she's doing okay financially, and she would say, "No, I'm really not interested." Instead, I go up to Carol and I say something like, "Carol, I got started on this new exciting business, and you might be able to help me. Would you happen to know anyone who would be interested in earning some extra income, or interested in getting into a second business?" Did you notice I'm asking about a third party, anyone? I'm asking her if she knows anyone. Try it out yourself. Do a little experimenting with this. The next 10 people you run into, a gas station attendant, a grocer, barber, cleaners, etc., ask them if they know anybody who would like to earn some extra income, just to get their reaction. Their response will tell you something. Most of the time, the response will be, "What is it?" The reason they say, "What is it?" is because the person they know who would like to earn some extra income is themselves. They just want to know a little bit more about what it is so they can make a decision. When they ask, "What is it?" don't play mysterious. Some people are offended by getting dragged off to somebody's home for an hour-and-a-half presentation when they have no idea why they are going there. When you're asked, "What is it?" you reply, "Do you know anything about network marketing?" They will either say yes or no. If they say yes, ask them what they know or understand about it. Get into a general discussion with them about network marketing. Refer to Chapter 1, Introduction to Network Marketing. Point out some of the benefits of being involved in network marketing in general. From there, invite them to read the first 4 chapters of this book, and then, if they're still interested, invite them to take a look at the particular program that you're in. Explain to them that it would only take 20 minutes or so to tell them the whole story. Don't try to shotgun the program with them on a street corner or while they're supposed to be working. Without the whole story, you'd be confusing them. You'd be giving them just enough information to say no, and not enough information for them to say yes. How to avoid prospecting. If you follow the training of your people the way it's laid out for you, you won't have to prospect. In the process of helping the people that you brought into the business, you will run into other people that you will be able to talk to. When you run into these people, you want to talk to them about network marketing so you can introduce them to your program. Most people have some fears about doing that. Where those fears come from is the idea that the person will say no to them. It's called the fear of rejection. A good example of this would be at a high school dance. A guy is at the first dance he's ever been to. He walks across the room and asks a girl to dance, and she says no. So he turns around, rejected, and walks back, never again to ask a girl to dance. He will absolutely swear that everybody in the whole auditorium saw him get rejected. Nobody likes to be rejected. Another type will ask a girl to dance, and if she says no, he will ask the next girl, and the next, and the guy will be dancing all night. To overcome the fear of rejection, we want you to be able to trick your mind so that you will be able to talk to more people. To do that, picture yourself standing on a dock. Remember, if you're waiting for your ship to come in, you must have first sent your ships out. Launching your ships. You have to launch some ships. If you launched only one ship and it returned empty, what good did it do to have your ship come in at all? The more ships you launch, the better chance you will have that some of them will return carrying gold. The ships carrying gold are the ones that you should work with. Most people have never launched a ship, so there's nothing already in their subconscious that can hurt them. Notice the launching ramp. When you ask someone if they know anybody who would like to earn some extra income, you have just launched a ship. If they say, "No, I don't know anybody," you can say, "Fine. If you happen to run into anybody, would you have them call me?" and give them your card. You see? You weren't rejected. There are only two possible results in launching a ship. It will either float or it will sink. If it sinks, so what? You're standing on a dock. If it floats, great. Send it out and help it turn into a gold-carrying vessel. After presenting the napkin presentations number 5 and number 6, people will tell you they plan on being a gold. The reason they tell you this is because you have just told them that you only work with the gold ships, and they want you to work with them. Take advantage of their invitation. You will benefit also. Chapter 8. Where to spend your time. Napkin presentation number 7. Below is a graph, which lays out pictorially where you should be spending your time. Basically, 100% of your time at the beginning should be spent sponsoring people. But you ask, should I not be spending my time learning, as in the first few weeks are supposed to be my training month? You are correct. But remember, when your sponsor is helping you sponsor others, it is part of your training. Even though your sponsor does the work, you still get the credit for being the sponsor. In network marketing programs, you can sponsor someone else into the business just as soon as you have been sponsored. When you first get into network marketing, your business is you. If you want your business to be a successful business, you now know that you must find 5 serious people to sponsor. You may have to sponsor more than 5 to find 5 who want to be serious. As you progress, the amount of time you spend on sponsoring people drops off. Why? Because all of a sudden, you find 1 serious person, then 2 serious people, then 3, 4, and when you have 5 serious people, you can quit spending your time looking for people to sponsor. Spend your time teaching those 5 gold ships to sponsor. Teach them also to teach their people to sponsor. When they have gone 3 or 4 deep in building their own groups and they don't need you anymore, you can go looking for another serious person to sponsor to replace them. When you have 5 serious people, you should be spending 95% of your time working with them, 2.5% of your time servicing the customers you have from your friends, and 2.5% of your time planting seeds. This way, when 1 or more of your 5 serious people are harvested and don't need to be watered and cultivated anymore, you can work with the seeds you planted and help them sprout. You should be aware that 100% of the time you are moving the product. It's a natural result of working with your people. That's the selling part of the business, which we like to call the sharing part. You may now feel that you need some specific guidance on how to spend time with your distributors. You're right, and that's where we head next. Chapter 9. The Sizzle Sells the Steak. Napkin presentation number 8. Another title we sometimes use for this presentation is the blazes. I assume you have been camping. You will notice that if you separate the logs from a campfire, the fire will go out. If you put them back together again, the fire will blaze up. So if you have one log, you'll have nothing. If you have 2 logs, you'll have a flame. And when you put 3 logs together, you will have a fire. And by the time you put together 4 logs, you'll have a blaze. People are the same way. The next time you're meeting with someone with your sponsor, in a restaurant for example, and you arrive first, notice how much energy there is, or isn't, around the table. Notice that when your sponsor arrives, and there are 2 of you, how there is much more energy. The 2 of you are there to meet with someone, and when they arrive, there is even more energy. When the 4th person arrives, you really got it going. We like to call these blazes, or sizzle sessions. Your network marketing program is the steak, and everybody knows that the sizzle sells the steak. How to get the sizzle. So you want to get together with your sponsor and share the napkin presentations with 1 or 2 of your downline people and get them sizzling and excited about what can happen. A good place to do this is in a restaurant. Pick a time when the restaurant is the least busy, around 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. You may want to set up a schedule so your people will know where you'll be at various times during the week. It's as if everyone's out gathering wood for the fire or blaze. If you were to bring people to a sizzle session who were a little bit skeptical, wet logs, and introduce them to the blaze, they would dry out and become part of the fire. But what happens if you are all by yourself, and although you're new in the business, you try talking to someone who is skeptical? That's like trying to put a wet log on nothing. Let's say you are a twig, just getting started in the business. Your sponsor, who has been around a little bit longer, is a log. A log and a twig can create a flame. Just having someone with you can make a difference. It gives your sponsor someone to bounce the conversation off. I could want Joe to get a message, and if I'm talking to him directly, he might not actually hear what I'm saying. But if I'm talking to Carol, I know that Joe is listening. It's amazing how people get more out of conversations they listen in on compared to those when someone is talking directly to them. Energy and eavesdroppers. Another thing about these blazes in a restaurant, they get very energetic. There are people called eavesdroppers who could be listening in on some of your conversation. You can spot them leaning back, trying to hear more. Be aware, some of these people will be very interested. When you're all done with your sizzle session and start to break up, stick around a few more minutes. Give them an opportunity to approach you. They won't come over to the table when there are 4 people there, but they may come over if you are by yourself. We always start the blazing sessions by having the people tell something positive that has happened with their products or their organization as each arrive. While we're there, we talk only about the business. We don't try to solve the Middle East crisis or any of the world's other problems. We are there to share ideas on how to build our business and how to talk to people about our business. We always break up our sessions with a parting word that goes something like, "Just think, this is as hard as we will ever work." This gets a little contagious, especially if you have people join your group who still have their regular 9-to-5 jobs and have to leave because their lunch hour is gone. You might say to them as they leave to go back to work, "See you later, Nick. But remember," he may interrupt with, "Yeah, I know. That's as hard as you'll ever work." Nick will be motivated to hurry up and get into that same position. As an old television commercial used to say, "Try it. You'll like it. Better yet, try it. It works." Chapter 10. Motivation and Attitude. Napkin presentation number 9. Napkin presentation number 9 is one of the most important. It is all about motivation. This chapter will give you an excellent understanding of what drives people. You will learn how to work with your people to motivate them into a successful action. Start out by writing the word motivation at the top of your napkin or board. You next draw 2 arrows, one pointing down and the other pointing up. Point out that there are 2 kinds of motivation: down motivation and up motivation. Label the arrows. Down motivation is what we call hot bath, but up motivation is constant. Let me explain. Most of you have probably been to rah-rah motivational rallies and found yourself gung-ho to get with it and get going again with the program you're in. You usually find that you've cooled off in a couple of weeks or months. When you take a hot bath, it seems the hotter the bath, the quicker you cool off. I've seen people go to motivational rallies that last up to 3 days. Then 2 weeks after they get home, they're totally depressed. Why? For 3 days, they got hyped up and really motivated, but nobody told them what to do or how to do it. That's why they get depressed. Even reading this book is a hot bath. I'll get to up motivation in a little bit. Going to seminars, getting together with your sponsor, reading a book, moving some product, obtaining more knowledge. These are all forms of hot bath or down motivation. That's not to say they are bad. Actually, they are necessary, but not sufficient. Attitude by degrees. Before I explain up motivation, I want to say something about attitude. Imagine that you are going to talk to someone about your business. That person doesn't know anything about it, so they have an attitude level of 0. To be effective in talking to them about the business, you need a much higher attitude level. Let's say 50 degrees of heat. If your own attitude level is short of 50 degrees, don't talk to anybody because they will just drag you down to their level. Here's an example for you. The people you want to sponsor have come to your presentation. They have signed the application. They want to get started. And boy, they are excited about the business. They are all the way up to 65 degrees. They are going to get rich. Before they've had a chance to learn anything, they go out and start talking to people. Since they don't really know how to handle themselves when confronted by negative skeptics, they get negative themselves. This can happen even with well-meaning relatives and friends who may have been disillusioned by getting signed up by someone who just wanted to get rich off of them, rather than by someone who is willing or able to help them build a business. A real sponsor has a commitment to helping others ahead of helping himself or herself. What will happen is that they will drop below the 50-degree level. You get together with them again, answer their objections and questions they may have, and they'll go back up, maybe to 70 degrees. And this time, they will stay there a little bit longer before they go below 50 degrees again with their attitude level. The constant attitude. This leads to the important question. How would you like to have an attitude level of about 50 degrees all the time? In other words, you aren't up and down like a yo-yo. Instead, your attitude level is constant. The only way we know how you can do this is with up motivation, because up motivation is constant. Here is up motivation. You have a sponsor. Your sponsor will help sponsor people for you. We start with 5. Now what happens is that when you sponsor people, it automatically raises your attitude level. Let's say by 5 degrees for each new person. Notice that when you sponsor 5 people, you only have 25 degrees. Again, a reminder, avoid sponsoring more than you can effectively work with and then losing them just as fast. That will take you back to 0. Your sponsor helped you sponsor these 5 people, and you in turn will help those people to sponsor others for their 5 degrees. Their 5 degrees is 10 degrees for you. Each of your second level people is worth 10 degrees for you. Notice, if you only helped one of the 5 people to sponsor 5 others, that would put you above 50 degrees. Notice what happens when you teach sponsoring down another level. At the 3rd level, each person sponsored is 20 degrees of heat for you. The 4th is 40 degrees. The deeper you go, the hotter it gets. The only way you can appreciate this phenomenon is when it's first happening. That's why you want it to happen to your people as soon as it possibly can. Once they experience it, they will be excited, and they will stay excited. See how it works. Here is an example. Carol sponsors Tom, and Tom sponsors Bill. Carol gets a phone call and finds out that Bill went out last week and sponsored 5 serious people. He's really going to run with it. What happens excites everybody right up the sponsorship line. Note the arrow going up. That's why we call it up motivation. You need to help the people you sponsor support their people. Let me show you an exception to that. When you sponsor someone into the business, they are a silver ship. Everyone comes in as a silver. They're excited, but they haven't become serious yet. Everyone has at least one friend. Get together with your people, help them sponsor some of their friends who come in as silver ships. Support your people as they help their friends sponsor more friends down the line, 3 or more deep. Suddenly, down line somewhere, you will find someone who turns out to be a gold ship. Here's what you do. Go down and focus all your attention on that gold, the first real gold you have in that particular line. Now watch what happens. In the process of helping the gold, the silvers above him or her will be converted to gold. This is how you convert the silvers. You get someone under them. If that person under them excels, is a gold, the silver that sponsored them will say, "Hey, I better get my act together." There isn't anything that will motivate a person more than having someone under them doing something. It has been said, you can motivate people faster and more effectively by putting a candle under their sitting place than by putting a blowtorch to their thinking place. To wrap this up, the one thing you don't want to have happen is for people you sponsor to develop a dependency on you. They cannot be dependent on you forever, otherwise it's not going to work. There has got to be a point where they don't need you. We say this point is reached when your people can teach their people to teach all 10 of the napkin presentations. Then they know everything they need to know to build a strong organization. Then you can go and find another serious person to replace them. Making your water boil. Suppose you sponsored Sue. You would say, "Sue, let's say you are like the sun. The sun has more energy than anything we know of." It is kind of an indirect compliment. You continue by saying, "The person you, Sue, sponsor is like a pan of water." Note, you sponsored Sue, but don't assume the role of the sun and call her a pan of water. It's not that flattering. So, in your group there is a sun. At what point would the water boil? If you took a pan of water and set it out in the middle of the hottest desert on the hottest day of the year, it still would not boil. It would take 212 degrees for the water to begin to boil. It won't boil at 210 degrees or 211 degrees. It has to be at least 212 degrees to boil. We just told you that the sun can't make the water boil. Your sponsor can't make the water boil either. None of the hot bath motivation can. I don't care if all the top people in all of the network marketing companies came to town for a rally and you went to all of them. Your water will never boil. They can get your attitude above the 50-degree effective level, but it's up to you to get the water boiling. And the only way to do this is to help other people sponsor people, raising the temperature by 5 degrees, then 10 degrees, then 20 degrees, and so on. Remember, your own sponsor will help you. In other words, you know some people your sponsor doesn't know. Your sponsor will go with you and help you sponsor someone. Once you have sponsored someone, you have started the burner under the pan, adding up to 212 degrees. With 5 people sponsored, you now have the pan sitting on 5 jets of the burner, the maximum number the pan can effectively cover. Notice, the water isn't boiling yet. It's only 25 degrees if your 5 people have not sponsored anyone yet. But if any 3 run off a string 3 deep, or any 2 a string 4 deep, or any 1 a string 5 deep, the water begins to boil. Any combination that adds up to 212 under the pan will get the water to boil. At the time the water is boiling, the sun, sponsor, can go away and the water will continue to boil. Once you've shown a person this and you call them on the phone, they will realize that you are calling because you want to help them. You are not calling to give them a blowtorch to the head, but rather you are calling to see if you can light another burner or turn the temperature up on those already lit. You want to help them get their water to boil. The farther you go down the group, the hotter the burner gets. In all the programs, once you have a person with their water boiling, it may look similar to the example shown here. Notice that you have others sponsored as well. The first one to boil is not necessarily the first one you sponsored. It is the first one that got serious and got the depth in their organization to get and keep it going. When you get your first person with boiling water, it provides an opportunity for you. You want always to be working with 5 serious people, so you now have the occasion to add another serious person to get back to 5. This goes along with the first napkin presentation in Chapter 2. Even if you have 15 people sponsored into the business, you can work effectively with only 5 at a time. And remember, you may have to sponsor 10 to 20 people to get those 5 serious people. And what happens to the others? We put them on the back burner, so to speak. When you have the water boiling on one or more of the original 5, take a trip around the back burner and let them know what's going on before you go out and search for someone brand new to sponsor. You may find that because of timing and circumstances when you sponsored them, they weren't ready to get serious about the business, but now they are ready. Maybe they were just waiting to see how the program was going to work for you, so make sure to visit the back burner. Chapter 11. Pentagon of Growth. Napkin presentation number 10. 5 has been the magic number throughout this book, so it's only appropriate that this final presentation is a 5-sided fun trip of a mathematical exercise, which also tends toward being a self-motivator every time you show it to someone. This Pentagon of Growth lays out an important view of how fast your organization can grow if you adopt the principles that we have outlined in this book. Start by drawing a pentagon and writing U in the middle of it. We typically allow for a training month and use increments of 2 months as we develop the growth of your organization. However, you can use whatever time frame you wish. You come into the business, and in 2 months, you have sponsored 5 people who really want to get a handle on life. Write 2M5 by one side of the pentagon, as shown in the figure for 2 months. In 2 more months, i.e. at the end of 4 months, the 5 from the second month, having been taught to do what you are doing, have each sponsored 5, which gives you 25 second-level distributors. At the same time, you have developed 5 more serious first-level people. Your pentagon is now looking like the one on the previous page. After 6 months, you may have 125 third-level people under your original 5, 25 second levels under your second group of 5 serious people, plus you have developed a third set of 5. At the end of 8 months, your pentagon of growth may appear like the example shown here. Now at this point, hand the napkin, or board, over to your student and give them a pen. Have them complete the diagram on out for 10 months. Just put a line for 10 months of the original group. You'll find the figure is too large to effectively identify with, as it is over 3,000, 3,125 to be exact. The example to the right is what they should now have. Go around the pentagon one more time and extend it to a year. To really put emphasis on how building in depth can make your organization grow rapidly, cross out all the groups except the one under your original 5 serious people. Point out to the person that you are showing this to that if all they built was this one group and they didn't do any of these other ones crossed out, they would be making $6,000 per month or more, depending on the vehicle they are using. The main purpose of this exercise is to simply show the importance of working down group with the people that you sponsor and teaching them to do the same. Now go do it. Chapter 12.